This is Monday, December 29th, 2025, current time 6:17 in the PM Eastern Standard Time. Basically, what I was wanting to go over was different futures and why I think they did what they did, kind of why such and such made resistance and support. What I had for potential support last night was down here at 69.66. It almost made support here at 2:22 in the morning. Came close to it. But anyway, that was a bounce point. Then the previous 75% level, that also tried to make some support. It did. The way I look at it is whenever I map off, or typically whenever I map off what I think will be support, and yesterday what I mapped off didn't have huge potential in either direction. The market typically has more volatility than that. So it's kind of a hogwash yesterday. But typically whatever I see as potential for support can become resistance. You see how it acts as perfect resistance. And then it came down to the previous level that should have been resistance, I don't know, about a week ago or so. And that made perfect support, and it ran back up to what was resistance prior. But that should have been some support. Now, I see that many times before where, if it starts breaking down more so than whatever the bottom or what some support should have been, I see it run back up to it several times. That's why you had that massive volatility today near market open. We tried again to make the same support because previous support and previous resistance from about a week ago or so. I'm not sure why it came down on 69.36, but I know, and I wish desktop version showed it. It doesn't show, or it doesn't map it off well. The RSI that I have, you can use basic RSI, I guess, but it's just the one that I have for mobile. It's very clean looking, and like it just gives a green air quoting buy signal and red air quoting sell signal. What it did today, or what the overall market did today, was it tried for several different times to do all of that. But anyway, usually whenever I map off for the 50% level, it tries to make that as, some support or resistance in either direction. If it breaks down below it, then it will at least try to get up to it again. It did last night at about midnight, or close to it. It almost went back up to the statistical mean. But I was looking at the Dow Jones this morning. I was like, hey, I think I can make some support there, and then I think it will run up to the 50% level, and sure enough it did. What I thought was going to make some support is right here. It did not. I figured it would try for the 50% level, and it did that massively quickly. You have to the opening is always extremely volatile. That's 3 minutes you had to get in and get out of your position. And the algorithms can do that extremely fast, way faster than I can. At 9:28, you was already in a bullish way. 9:29, bullish way. 9:30, you had a good spike. Then it petered out at 48,979, which is what I thought the goal would be, or typically it will be. If it breaks down below it, it will come back up to that. But very quickly done. You can see how algorithms do it. Even if I was somewhere in here in this area, and I was expecting a move to the upside, and sure enough, it didn't happen until just all of a sudden it just ran it up. Algorithms did that. But that's why you had that spike, though, and that's why you had the sell off there. If you're wondering why, that's why. 161.8% level, it kind of try to make some support. What I like to see is if it comes way down, then you need to have assurance that it is actually trying to become bullish. The ATR trailing stop is a good indication of that. If it breaks above it and still stays with mostly buy volume, then it's looking on up and up. Typically, what will happen is the volume weighted average price also can make a support or resistance, and today it happened towards the end of the day it made more resistance. But that spike, I was expecting that right before market open, or around there anyway. I'm sure other algorithms expected the same thing as well. I usually map all this off like 6 p.m. whenever market opens back up for futures trading. What I had mapped off for the Dow Jones, the expectation level is 25. Did I say Dow? The Nasdaq is 25,873. I was like, God dang, that's low for Dow. But you can see how it did make support here. That's the level I had mapped off. Algorithms use those levels. That could have been a quick, easy profit taking, and yes, every single one of those lower levels there, the RSI was in the 30s. Usually it either goes back to neutral or the statistical mean from the RSI, or it can create upwards past 70, which are usually sell signals. And I think this morning the Dow or the Nasdaq did the same exact thing. Anywhere in here was like 30 RSI, and then it just shows up as being buy volume. That initial spike up, which it kind of followed the Dow also, but the Dow is one that led this more of a bump up than anything else today, in my personal opinion, just because what I've seen in the past the main times. It already did its decently move to the upside last night, or tried to reclaim it. So it's basically like, it's not all the time, but many times it's one and done. If it does it one time or rejects at the 50% level or below the 50% level, then it might be a down day. But that's your biggest moves was from last night, and I think this morning too. I was up at 4 o'clock and I seen this dip here, and I'm pretty sure, it's either this dip or this dip, one of those two. But anyway, the RSI was 30 and below right there as well, and that's typically what creates more of a buy signal. What's better is I'm quite certain RSI was 30 here as well. Whenever you have two correlating levels, RSI 30 or below, and then level that you map off from the night before or whatever, then that can be a good thing. But basically what the Nasdaq was shooting for was the bottom level, or what should have been support by many algorithms, but that's again the reason for the spike. What I have mapped out for tomorrow for the Nasdaq is 25,873, and potential lower entry is 25,590. For the SP for tomorrow, I have 69,777 and 69.29. That historically, that's a really good buy entry at 69.29, and the bottom average daily range is also at 69.27.60. So that's two correlating levels there also that can make some support. So that's always a good sign to have two levels that match up as well. Again, the statistical mean right now is 69.53.30. That's where it will gravitate to. That's where it'll be around, and that's what it will more likely not deviate too awful much from on the next 10 hours, give or take. And Now what I have for tomorrow is 49,120 and 48,545. That also is below the bottom of average daily range. So that's also a good thing. I was just curious last night. I also mapped off what I thought silver could have potentials for as well. Let me do the 5-minute chart, but that ain't what I believe, right? No, I'm sorry. That was like Sunday when I mapped that off. Again, like, whatever I had mapped off, the 50% level, since it was way above it, the 50% level will a lot of time make some support, and algorithms buy back into it. Algorithms were bullish all the way until about right here, then they started selling short. You can see how it goes up to it exactly again, pretty much, and then it rejects from there. But basically, algorithms, what they do is they look for that higher extension, and you can attack it to the short side after that, or long it if it's another direction. You can see how perfectly it bounces off of that there. I mean, briefly, even if it don't hold up for forever, and now it's just hovering around that level from Sunday. And sometimes what I map off on Sunday holds up for an entire week, and sometimes it's just for the day. And we also have a holiday coming up too, so I imagine more sideways and barely bullish actions to come. Hope you're happy. Health well. Goodbye.